You're more tired than makes sense, your weight won't budge, and your skin keeps acting up. And all you hear is just lose weight on one side and then extreme liver cleanses on the other. Meanwhile, the real question running in your background is what should I avoid? And is there anything that I can actually eat day to day that helps my liver calm down and catch up? I'm Dr. Kenny, root cause health detective and IFM certified functional medicine practitioner, and these are the kinds of patterns that I look at every day in my functional medicine practice. In this video, we're diving into a handful of everyday foods that send signals either damaging or healing to your liver without the detox drama. If this hits home with you, tapping the like button helps this message reach other people in the same spot. If your symptoms feel scattered, your liver might be telling you one story underneath all of that. Fatigue, brain fog, weight fluctuations, and skin changes can all feel like separate problems, but when they show up together in a cluster, they're often one system or several systems offline saying, I'm backed up. And the liver rarely screams. It's one of those quiet whispers when it goes offline, until it's not. It may start with a slight bump in your liver enzymes upwards, or a trend toward fatty liver, or just feeling more inflamed than usual. These are all early invitations to start asking deeper questions. And from a functional medicine lens, even mild elevations in your liver enzymes, these are your liver's inbox that begin to back up. It's a capacity issue, and foods are actually something that can send healing signals and meaningfully shift these numbers in a big way. What many people don't realize is that the liver often responds to patterns, not single meals as much. So this discussion isn't about fear or restrictions or detox gimmicks and ups and downs. It's about understanding which foods can help your liver reach that zero inbox state a whole lot easier. Let's zoom out on the functions of the liver before we dive into the foods. Think of your liver as a busy traffic controller in your body. Everything that you absorb or that touches you, nutrients, hormones to be detoxified, medications, environmental toxins, they all pass through this one central hub. When the traffic is flowing steadily, things run smoothly. But if too much comes at once, and get this, even if the food is healthy, the system slows and signals can back up. And a piece that many people never hear is that the liver isn't just a filter, it's a decision maker in a way, and it adjusts its chemistry accordingly. Clinically, there's two main processes that happen in the liver, and I like to think of it as a two-step kind of handoff system. In one lane, it prepares the compounds, while the next packages them so that the body can remove them. When either of those lanes falls out of rhythm or is overcome in terms of its capacity, something often is reflected in subtle enzyme changes or liver functions tests. So the liver starts to feel overloaded even without signs and symptoms. If we shift this idea of detoxification to this traffic flow idea versus this scrub down that you have to go through every 3 or 6 months, the whole idea becomes less intimidating, and it makes sense why those periodic cleanses maybe aren't moving the needle as significantly as you may think. Supporting the liver is generally about supporting its daily functions and its daily load. So let's talk about some foods first that quietly overwork the liver. This isn't a bad foods list necessarily, but it is a workload list. Let's start with refined sugars and high glycemic index foods and desserts. They can cause these fast glucose spikes that push the liver into storage mode. Fried foods and fast foods in reheated oils like seed oils adds oxidative stress and burden to the liver as well. And ultra-processed snacks hit the liver chemistry very quickly, especially because it doesn't often have a lot of fiber. And this gives the liver a lot more product to deal with than it can generally comfortably manage. And this is where things get sneaky oftentimes, is that some foods can feel harmless but create some of the biggest traffic jams. From a functional medicine perspective, rapid spikes in glucose or blood sugar increase insulin demand on the entire system. When insulin rises repeatedly or for longer periods of time, that overflow gets rerouted to the liver, especially if fasting glucose or triglycerides are already running high. So these nuances depend on a person's individual state and chemistry as well. That's why especially fructose-heavy sweeteners add so much silent workload to the liver in a context of an already overtasked liver. Fructose essentially bypasses the usual blood sugar regulating checkpoints, and drops directly onto the liver's desk. And then there's the sneaky one I see in the wellness world all the time, and that is both honey and agave. They're marketed as healthy, but your liver doesn't see natural on a label, it sees fructose and glucose. So in the context of an already tasked system, sometimes those higher fructose or higher glucose sweeteners can cause the same roadblocks we're talking about here. Research shows that the liver handles fructose quite differently than other sugars, which is why these sweeteners can increase liver workload when it's already overwhelmed. So though it may be marketed as healthy, there's really no healthy way to sweetness in most cases. The exception is most fruits in their whole forms. And if you're somebody who likes seeing the studies behind what I'm sharing, I put together a short research summary for today's video in the description and the pinned comment below. Go ahead and check those out. So the key with quote unquote bad foods is awareness. When your liver is flagging for help or tasked in other ways, these foods can create extra traffic jams in your chemistry. So let's now turn our attention to supportive foods. I want to start by flipping the script a bit on the term liver detox for a second. Liver support is often not about taking things away as much as it is about adding foods that lighten the load, that help to grease the gears a little bit better in terms of liver chemistry. If we go back to the overflowing inbox example, foods that are healing to the liver are kind of like assistants that help to organize all of the inboxes and take tasks off of the desk of the liver ultimately. So before we dive into some of these helpful foods, I want to strip away this language of foods that detox. Because what we're really doing is we're adding to the capacity of dealing with inflammation or roadblocks or blood sugar stability. And those are the signals that send the safety cues to the liver, especially every day. The first group we'll talk about is cruciferous vegetables and leafy greens. These products help the liver finish its job. From a functional medicine standpoint, this is one of the simplest ways to support the balance between that phase 1 or phase 2, or the lane 1 or lane 2 detoxification. Cruciferous vegetables and their sulfur compounds help with hormone breakdown and medication breakdown, and the list goes on, while the greens also provide fiber and phytonutrients that carry waste out so that the liver doesn't bear the burden. Shoot for adding about 2 to 4 cups of cruciferous vegetables and greens per day, and that's a great foundation if you're trying to actively support your liver. The next food is fatty fish. Fatty fish might not be the first thing that you associate with liver health, but it plays a quiet, important role. Most people with elevated liver enzymes or an overtasked liver have some level of metabolic inflammation that's happening behind the scenes. And inflammation makes every task inside of the liver more difficult. In functional medicine, we look very closely at the inflammatory terrain because it shapes how much stress the liver is under any given time. When your inflammation markers are higher, you can kind of think of it as a noisier environment for the liver to do its job. Omega-3s help to turn that inflammation noise down. Omega-3s can be found in fish, of course, like salmon, sardines, trout, and mackerel, but there's also some plant-based versions in algae if you happen to be vegetarian. And they not only support inflammation, but also insulin sensitivity, an important piece of the puzzle for liver health. It's about creating a base of anti-inflammatory cues so that the liver is less in a state of putting out fire mode. And if you're in Texas, California, or Florida and you'd like my eyes on your case or helping through a functional medicine lens, I do offer a free health mystery map call. It's an opportunity to talk to me about your case and see if we're a good fit. The link is in the description below. The next category of foods we're going to talk about are those that are rich in vitamin E. This includes walnuts, seeds, and avocados. When your liver is juggling the blood sugar swings or the hormones or constant metabolic tasks from environmental toxins, for instance, oxidative stress starts to build up. Think of this like the aging or the browning of an apple that takes place when exposed to air. The same thing happens in our bodies and in our living cells. Low-grade oxidative stress is completely normal, but too much can start to wear the system down. This oxidative stress can start to shift very common liver lab markers like AST and ALT upwards even before somebody starts to feel different. And that's a sign of oxidative stress. Vitamin E-rich foods, it's a fat-soluble antioxidant for oxidative stress, can help to protect the liver. And it does so at the cellular level by negating this micro irritation that's occurring. People who regularly eat nuts tend to have a lower risk of fatty liver disease, which ultimately fits this pattern. You have a stronger antioxidant status and buffering, meaning there's less wear on the system overall. Next deserves its own category, and it's extra virgin olive oil. You may notice a theme where adding fat can help your liver work better. It makes you wonder about the low-fat trends back in the day. And here's a surprising shift that happens is that the right kind of fat actually helps your liver work less. Both the monounsaturated fats as well as the antioxidants in olive oil improve insulin sensitivity. And this means that less sugar ends up being stored as fat inside the liver. This is one of the protective hallmarks of the Mediterranean diet, of course, as well for heart health. Research shows that swapping in olive oil, especially in its raw form, can improve insulin sensitivity. And it can even help liver markers directly, which fits perfectly with what I see in practice as well. And you don't need to drown your food in it. You can drizzle a tablespoon or two over a salad or incorporate it into a smoothie, for instance. Next, let's talk about one of my favorites, garlic. Garlic is one of those foods that shows up in many different traditional cuisines because it does quietly balance the energies and helps your body's natural cleanup systems. From an evidence-based perspective, compounds in garlic help to activate these gentle detoxification lanes, almost like widening up the lanes a bit so that you can move through them more easily. And it also boosts the liver's and the body's antioxidant capacity, again, dealing with the liver burden. And one of the beauties of garlic is how easy it is to use. You can eat it raw, you can saute it, add it to a dressing, or one of my favorite forms is pickled. The next food group we're going to talk about is antioxidant-rich fruits. Think deeply colored berries like blueberries or even pomegranate seeds. These help to combat the oxidative stress that also nudges liver enzymes upwards. These fruits that are known for their deep colors, which represents their antioxidant capacity in many ways, help to quiet the irritation from oxidative stress on the liver, and it gives it a more stable environment to process and repair. The next ingredient is used in many different therapeutic settings. Green tea isn't a magic detox drink, but it can offer gentle, regular support when the liver is already feeling overwhelmed. Its most studied compound, EGCG, helps to lower oxidative stress and support insulin sensitivity, common themes that are coming up with stress on the liver. Research shows that green tea can help to lower liver enzymes in people with fatty liver, but it doesn't offer that same effect when the liver's already functioning normally. It becomes more protective and preventative at that stage, so it's a great thing to incorporate into your daily routine. Incorporating a cup or two a day is the perfect amount for this regular safety signal on your liver chemistry. And the next healing food I want to talk about is legumes broadly, or beans. And this is because of their primary blood sugar stabilizing role. What most people miss around fatty liver is that it's often a blood sugar story before it's a liver story. This is why it's had a more recent name change when it's called MASH, or metabolic-associated steatohepatitis, or fatty liver. From a functional medicine perspective, waiting to see fasting blood sugar or even HbA1c to rise is often so late in the game when it comes to insulin resistance signs. Looking at fasting insulin is a great way to actually see what's going on in this system. Legumes or beans offer some safety signals because they are the perfect package of complex carbs along with fiber and protein. They digest slowly and steadily and offer predictable sources of energy, and this becomes that safety cue for blood sugar balance to the liver. Research shows that people who do eat beans regularly have a lower risk of fatty liver disease. And you can get very creative with the way that you use beans in recipes. One of my favorite is a chickpea cookie dough. It's not exactly the same, but close enough. All in all, it's important to remember that your liver doesn't necessarily need these protective cleanses once every 3 months or once a year. It needs less chaos day to day. The foods that we walked to today are not exotic or extreme, but they form a foundation that help to restore the safety cues for adequate detoxification capacity. Start small. Pick one or two of the items above and just start incorporating it into your daily routine. And when you support your liver's environment and its processes, the rest of your systems can sync up a whole lot more effectively. whether we're talking about your energy and brain fog or weight management, inflammation, digestion, and even your skin. And if this root cause perspective connected with you, check out this next video that YouTube thinks you're like to keep learning. I'm Dr. Kenny, Root Cause Health Detective. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.